Foreman will come back to the questions in just a second after Mr. Tucker is finished.
Chairman Mulvaney, Ranking Member Chu, members of the subcommittee, I'm Mike Tucker, Chairman of the Independent Office Products and Furniture Dealers Association, and an owner of the George W. Allen Company located in Beltsville, Maryland. I'm here today representing one of the IOP FDA's two memberships, the National Office Products Alliance. The Independent Office Products and Furniture Dealers Association is a not-for-profit trade association established in 1904 that represents and serves more than 1,000 small independent commercial dealers throughout the United States, along with their key suppliers. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the subcommittee today about the need to ensure small businesses in our industry have fair, ongoing access to opportunities in the Federal market. There have been a number of developments since 2010 with respect to management of the GSA Schedule 75 program in general and implementation of the second-generation Federal Strategic Sourcing Initiative for office supplies in particular that have broadly impacted our members. I will highlight these developments in my testimony today. First and foremost, NOPA is greatly concerned about the abrupt and widespread impact on small businesses in our industry due to the General Services Administration's implementation of the current FSSI program for office supplies. We acknowledge that the FSSI program has generated new opportunities for some small businesses in our industry, including some of our very capable members. At the same time, there have been many other members who have invested with government encouragement in obtaining their own Schedule 75 contracts, only to see their current opportunity dramatically reduced as a result of the near-mandatory government-wide implementation of this program. Given the government-wide scope of this FSSI and the large number of small businesses that were participating in this market in fiscal year 2010, NOPA was surprised that GSA did not undertake a small business impact study before launching its second-generation FSSI for office supplies. It then went a step further and, without any such study as required under Federal Regulatory Flexibility Act, published a proposed rule in June 2010 that called for creation of a special preference for Federal strategic sourcing initiatives within the FAR. As an association, we have worked to find the middle ground within our membership on this issue. We do not wish to impair the new opportunities of members who competed for and were awarded FSSI blanket purchase agreements. At the same time, we would be remiss if we did not highlight our concerns about how FSSI has been implemented. After monitoring FSSI implementation for 6 to 9 months, and seeing its far-reaching impacts, we agreed within the NOPA Board to urge GSA and the Administration as a whole to issue a statement of administration policy to clarify to Federal agencies what our industry had been told by GSA and the Administration just prior to the bid process, that FSSI would be implemented on a non-mandatory basis, allowing non-awarded GSA Schedule 75 holders to continue to compete for Federal business. Since that time, it has become clear that FSSI volume and its share of total Federal spending on office supplies would continue to grow as more and more major agencies issued guidance to buyers that FSSI use was mandatory except in unusual situations. NOPA has maintained a dialogue with GSA and the Office of Federal Procurement Policy on FSSI implementation since 2010, and I am here today to urge this committee, the full Congress, and the Administration to acknowledge and address the impact of strategic sourcing on our industry in a forthright way. The solution is simple and relies on allowing more competition and flexibility in purchasing as ways to achieve FSSI's goals and reduce job loss pressures in our industry. First, the Administration needs to issue a very clear statement of administrative policy that restores full competition within the Federal market for our industry's products. This approach, if communicated and implemented broadly, will ensure genuine ongoing choice of procurement vehicles for agencies and will help the Administration achieve the overall budgetary savings it hopes to achieve through the FSSI program. Mandatory implementation of FSSI on a government-wide basis represents a massive form of contract bundling, which has and will continue to reduce the opportunities and the ultimate level of small business participation and healthy long-term competition in Federal markets. Second, there needs to be more flexibility to allow individual dealers with their own GSA schedules to participate in FSSI as authorized participating dealers, with dealers who have received awards. Authorized dealers should be subject to reasonable ground rules, but this should not mean they must give up their rights to compete for non-FSSI Federal business opportunities using their regular GSA schedule contracts. This is essential since APDs will need to bear significant administrative fees from GSA and their chosen FSSI BPA holder partner, as well as normal costs associated with properly servicing Federal accounts. NOPA is in dialogue with GSA regarding the APD option, and we ask this committee to strongly encourage them to work toward an expeditious and balanced conclusion. We hope that this committee will reflect on the history of FSSI implementation in our industry and consider how the small business impacts can be mitigated in the future. At the end of FY 2010, there were 550 mostly small companies and a few dealer-based organizations competing for Federal business with one or more departments and agencies under the regular GSA Schedule 75 contract program, or using individual blanket purchase agreements. However, with the rapid and orchestrated push by GSA and OFPP for use of FSSI on a government-wide basis, using just 2 large and 13 small vendors, the economic fallout has been swift and dramatic for most of the remaining Schedule 75 contract holders. The office products industry is one where small businesses owned and operated by women, minorities, service-disabled veterans, and second- and third-generation entrepreneurial families have been well represented and highly successful against much larger national competitors. It is hard to understand how an FSSI program was implemented that did significantly more harm than good to this already fragile community of businesses. We do not believe that this result, a net economic loss for small business, is what Congress or the Administration intended, or is it what our nation needs as our economy is showing uneven signs of recovery. More competition, not less, is the solution and can be readily restored in the Federal market for office products by making the FSSI program truly one option rather than a mandatory or quasi-mandatory option, among those that have been in place and working effectively for some time. I ask that my testimony be made part of the official record of this hearing, and thank you for inviting me to testify on behalf of NOPA.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. And just to point to all